everyone, welcome back to another video. Can you believe it's been already 3 months? It's been 3 months since we talked, since I came on here and I promised Unua Baga things. It's been 3 months. Time waits for no man. Anyway, I'm really tired, but I have decided I'm just go record a video because I miss doing my videos. And today we're going to talk about my non-express entry immigration journey. Some of you, like, if you've been on my channel, you know, for the last 2 years or so, you already have a sense of what's going on. And where I left you guys last was that we were temporary residents, but now I feel like I have the full picture and I can give you a story from start to finish. So much has happened in the last 6 months alone. You know, immigration has changed so much, but I still feel like there might be some value in talking to you about my story and what I did and how I did it and whatever. I've mentioned to you guys on several occasions that I won't talk about my story and things that's happening until they're done. So every time I'm updating you on something, it's something that's signed, sealed, and delivered. And so today I can do that. Now, before I head into the story, I do want to, you know, just give a shout out to all the people who were on my channel like a year ago, 2 years ago, when I was here by myself, you know, just waiting for my husband and my daughter to come, being lonely, stressing out. Like, y'all really kept me up. Like, I don't know if people understand that, yes, I'm technically alone still. I'm talking to myself when I'm talking to the camera, but there was so much value in, you know, coming on and talking to you guys and having you guys talk back to me. You guys really held me up in spirit, and I have to say that is something that I'm immensely grateful for. And I don't know that I came on here and told you guys how much I appreciate that. So that is what I'm doing today. I appreciate you, every single one of you, all 500 or 600 or something of Uno. I appreciate you. So anyway, let's get into the story. So I came to Canada a little over 2 years ago as an international student. This journey really started as sort of an adage. Like, this was not the main goal. Like, coming as a student was never the plan. It was never the priority. We have been wanting to come to Canada as through express entry for quite some time. And the thing about it is, when you're planning, you always think that, well, I thought that we had time. For me, it was like, okay, we can get, like, we were trying, we weren't quite there, but we weren't, I have to say, we weren't knocking the grind, like, to get to where we knew we needed to be, because we had a timeline that extended beyond what was necessary. And so we're you know, you're putting the wheels in motions and everything, but you think you have time. We had great scores at the time, you know, relative to what was happening in the pool, and we just thought, you know, at this point in time, that is when we're ready for move. Unfortunately, this point in time was the year of COVID. That was the year of COVID, and as you know, enough people planned just, oh, it went all to hell. And suddenly, you know, it was like, oh God, what are we gonna do? Anyway, we went through the year of 2020, and between that time, so we we did our IELTS test in 2019 in preparation for using it in 2020. So we did the education assessments and we did the English test in 2019. Now obviously it's 2020 like nobody's business. So that same year was the year that my husband finished his residency. My husband is in healthcare, for those of you who don't know. So by the end of 2020, we were like, all right, we're ready. Right? We're ready. But no jobs were being held. We were qualifying as skilled federal skills workers, and no draws were being held. So it was kind of like, okay, what are we gonna do? Anyway, my situation at home is that I was a stay-at-home mom. I was, doing, my priority at that time was the family. And during that time, my husband said, you know what, I have achieved what I wanted to achieve. It's your turn. So anything you say, that we do. So I was busy. So early 2021, I was busy, rattling things around in my head. Like, what am I gonna do? What do I want to do? At that time, I felt like, yeah, we still want to go to Canada, but we have to start to look at other options. And the other options were, they came about and we looked at them like, and certainly staying home was one of those options. But I was incredibly emotionally frustrated with Jamaica at that point, to be fair. In December 2020, our apartment was broken into, and I feel like that was the straw for me that broke the camel's back, because at that point in time I just felt like we can't do this, we can't, like, we can't sleep, I'm scared all the time. It was just truly one of the most violating experiences. So anyway, February 2021 comes around, and I remember distinctly we were celebrating our anniversary. We did the what was your name? Royalton, maybe. Royalton. I look at those pictures on my Instagram now and I'm just like, crazy. And that day, I remember laying on the bed in the hotel room and seeing, like, I'm scrolling on social media or something and see something pop up that says breaking announcement and whatever, because like I said, we had the plan to go to Canada for a long time, and one thing about me, I'm going to plan it to the gods, I'm going to strategize to the gods. So I followed Canadian immigration news for years and years and years and years. So I saw the updates, and it basically said that, like, them time the Canada lockdown, like, lock, or they were doing quarantine, I don't know, but remember they mean lock, like lock up side for one little while, and then they were doing the whole quarantine or whatever. Anyway, it was during that time, and the announcement said that if you studied outside of Canada for until December 31st of that year, which was 2021, then the time that you studied for would apply towards immigration points for PR. And up until that moment, school was never a thought. Like, in my head, it was just too expensive an option. And at that point in time, I had the family mindset. All this time, all this planning we were doing is for the whole family to move all at once. So when I saw that they were saying, alright, if you study from your home country, then you could still use these points towards immigration. And I said, that might be useful. My mind now is February. So anyway, quick boom bang around some things in my head, and I went to my husband and I said, what if I studied? We're going to move to Canada anyway. If I'm going to, because at that time I was also thinking about master's programs that I could do, and I was like, if I do it in Canada, if I study in Canada, is I jump start into the work world there, so that might give us a leg up and blah 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 blah. So true, like school in Canada not cheap, like the tuition is not cheap, right? So me expect the man for, you know, some little talking with me, and some of the man say, okay, let's do it, and I'm like, stop. And he was like, I told you, is anything that you want to do, that's what we're gonna do. If we can make it work, we make it work. So I said, okay. And right away I apply, because in my head, remember it's February, so in my head, if I started a semester in May, by December, but not the whole year, I'm gonna get for stay home, you know. So at that point in time, I only needed to find the tuition. I mean, like, okay, but I have to think about the cost of living part of it. So I applied for programs, and one day I'm gonna give you all a testimony of how that whole situation went down. But for today, for this video, let's skip. It didn't work out for me to start in May, so we're like, all right, now we have to extend the line of sight to September. And that scared me, because that meant that there was half the year that I couldn't stay home for. Anyway, everything fell into place the way that it should have, and I did it. I applied for my study work permit that summer, and I started school back in Jamaica in September 2021 from home, and then traveled to Canada very close to the end of the semester, so late November, early December, thereabout. And by the way, my school was in Toronto, so I lived in the GTA from December till April, the end of school in April, and I got a job. I got several job offers, and when I looked at them like this, the best one was in Saskatchewan. So I said, okay, I'm going to Saskatchewan. Now, mind you, I'm by myself. Yes, we're visiting and whatever, but ultimately, hubby and I decided that we did not want to destabilize our daughter when I could leave the Toronto area. If my husband was in Canada, his working situation was not going to be a smooth transition at all, and you know, little things. So we decided that the best thing for her, that was the hardest decision ever, but we decided that the best thing for her was for them to stay home and for me to go ahead and focus and line up some things so that the transition for them after is a little bit smoother. So we did finish school. So I have tunnel vision at this point. I started applying for jobs. I'm graduating in April. I started applying for jobs in February, and every day I'm hard at it. I did interview after interview after interview after interview, all day, every day. I'm just interviewing there. Like, I did have interview burnout. I get to the point where I'm like, Laggy's ass. So I eventually secured a few offers, and when I compared them, the best one was in Saskatchewan. So I'm sorry, I got Saskatchewan. Pack up my bag and came to Saskatchewan. After I got here, the job no work out. I got here 2 weeks. 2 weeks. So I had started the job from when I was in Ontario, and then I moved to Saskatchewan, and then the job didn't work out. So I was only with that company for 6 weeks, about 6 weeks, and then I was job hunting again. But this time, in my mind, I'm under more pressure, because I had already applied for my postgraduate work permit in order to start that job, and I only studied for 8 months. So I'm expecting that my work permit would be somewhere in the vicinity of 8 months to a year. So now I have 1.5 months of work experience, right? So if them give me 8 months, I'm screwed. So I prayed that it would take longer for me to get the work permit, and just again back in the streets, hitting the pavement every single day. As jobs come out, I was at them. We had a conversation, my husband and I, about whether or not it would be best for me to go back to Toronto, since it was so soon, like, but it just come. And I said, babe, I don't really want to go back to Toronto. Let me stay here, Sophia, a little bit and see if we can make it work. My postgraduate work permit was granted in September, and I got a new job in September to start in October. So I should mention that while all of this was going on, express entry still not moved, because the draws had started to happen again, but the scores were so high. It's been several years from the time when we first organized ourselves for the express entry. It has been several years. We are no longer having that prime score. Several years have passed. With age come down. Every time your birthday pass, five points gone. He has a profile, I have a profile. Nothing is happening with the profile. The profile them stagnant. Now remember, going to school was not the primary path, right? It was when I come here now, when I got the job, I'm like, but Saskatchewan don't look so bad, man. No, it don't look so bad. The PMP don't look so bad at all. So I, you know the Kermit Panda something, I mean that. And I looked at all the pathways and I said, all right, I fit into the student category, which means that I needed to be working in the province for 6 months, and I needed a job approval letter. So when I was interviewing for the jobs, I asked the people that I interviewed with, I asked them straight up. I said, I need this thing to do my immigration. Are you willing to provide it? And some of them, I found most of them said yes. Some of them asked me, what would we need to do? And the point that I found was very, very helpful when I was doing that was to tell them straight up that it won't cost you any money, but you will need to do, an application and sign up and certain things like that. And most was on board and said it was fine. Once I started my new job, I asked them, do this. This is the information, da 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 da. They did their part. They stuck to their word. It took 6 months. 6 months. So it took 6 months. So by the time I got the job approval letter that I needed, it had been 6 months. So I also had 6 months of consistent work experience in the province. At that time I had, that was like July. Was it July? So that was like July, and I had August, September left. 2 months left on my postgraduate work permit. During that time, they also announced an extension for 2023 graduates. So I was able to get that 18-month extension on my work permit. And when I was applying for that extension, I also applied for my husband to get his work permit and my daughter to get a study work permit. And they came over so that we could bring the family back together again, and we can stop mad out, and everybody can stop mad out. Right? So I got the letter. So I got the job approval letter in July, and I applied for the provincial nomination in July. Now, in hindsight, what I should have done was take my job approval letter and apply to the express entry stream, but it looked like God made me never do it, because the waiting time them on those streams, baby, the last time I looked, it was like 29 weeks. Whereas the student stream, the waiting time to get the letter is 2 weeks. So I applied for the provincial nomination. 1 week later, them asked me for another document. I gave it to them, and the next week, exactly 1 week, I had my provincial nomination. And when I got the nomination, I was distraught to see that it very specifically said that you cannot use it for express entry. And I was a little mad. I was like, oh, I didn't know that it would say that. But it did. And I called them and I said, you know, can I get another nomination? Like, what would be the process for getting a nomination that I could use for express entry? By this time, you know, profile them expire. I had to redo the IELTS test, everything. You know, still never did I get non-drawn or nothing, but I was coming up on a year of work experience, and it was pushing me a little bit higher, but not, it was high enough to have a very good chance, but not high enough to be safe. So I called them and I said, can I get, what would be the process in getting a provincial nomination that I could use for express entry? And the lady would tell me, Sam, would I have to cancel the nomination on my AV and do the application all over again? And there was no guarantee of anything. So what you say? It's okay, it's okay. So at the time, the waiting period listed on IRCC website was 16 months. I said, okay, I put the application together. I had already begun to gather the documents and everything. I put the documents together and I sent off my application in August, and I settled into it. I'm thinking, okay, I will fret about this in a year from now, because again, I don't know why the camera stopped, probably because it was too much, but anyway, so I put in my application and waiting period was 16 months. So I decided not to worry about it. I'll just put in the application, I'll wait. Anyway, I wanted to pull our express entry applications and my husband said no. Why are you doing that? Let's keep them. So I said, okay. 2 months later, who that get ITA? We did, we got an ITA. And then, you know, we thought about it and we said, okay, let's do it. Like, you know, it's express entry. If we do it this way, then we're not obligated to stay in Saskatchewan, even though we decided we were going to. So much so to the point that around the same time when the job approval letter was coming, we got an invitation from Ontario to apply for YNP. And boy, the 45 days where we just sit down and watch it something expire, but I have anxiety and I'm just like, what should I give a sure for unsure? Oh, but we really knew that we didn't want to go back to Ontario, so we decided to make that pass. So anyway, we got our documents together. Remember, most of them were together already from 2 months before. We updated what needed to be updated and we sent in our application in November. And I thought it was going to be faster, but put in something, you're not peeped from IRCC. In December, I got the medical requests and the biometric requests and all of that yada yada just from the non-express entry application. We do them, I'm like, all right. January come, not a peep out of the express entry. February come, not a peep out of the express entry. But then there was a notification on the non-express entry that a decision had been made, like where, you know, where it gives you like the date on the application processing. There was like a date there in February, and it's still processing and everything, but the date was there. I'm like, okay. But I was following some online groups, like Facebook groups and Reddit groups and blah blah blah, and based on what I saw as a trend was that people said that when they saw the date change, and they waited a long time and they didn't get a... Okay, so the SD card was full. That's what was happening. Okay, so let's get back to it. So on the groups, they said that when they waited a long time and they didn't get an email, you know, shortly after, the trend was that IRCC would tell them that they sent them the email from the day before, the day after, the date that's stamped on the thing. That's when they would say that, hey, we sent you the email, but we didn't get a response, blah, 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 blah. So I sat and watched it for a couple of days, and when it didn't change, I called him and I said, you know, some people said they didn't get their emails and I'm just checking. And they were like, so at this point it had been a week, and she said the agent told me, yeah, we sent you an email on this date, which was the date after. I was like, I didn't get it. She's like, okay, she's gonna make a note and tell them to send it again. So that is what they call P1. That's the email that says, you know, what is it again? Something about confirmation, and them ask if you ever got information for confirm and blah blah blah. So I waited another week and no email. So I called him again. And she said, oh, we sent another email that was days before that. And I was like, I didn't get it. I didn't get that one either. So I had seen around a little bit of some people say, just answer the email. You know, like they were kind of secretive about the email address, but they were like, just answer the email. Yeah, you know what I go say, just answer it. So I did. I answered it. And she told me a date to wait until, if I didn't get that, you know, third email, then I should call back on that date. And a few days before that date, I answered him. And on that date, when I was set to call her back, I got email number 2. So email number 1, don't come, I know. They said they sent it to me 3 times. It don't come, I know. But email number 2 came. So after I do everything that email number 2 asks, that's P2. I did everything. I uploaded the picture, blah 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 blah, and then waited a month. By the way, after I replied to email number 2, email number 1 like an hour later drag itself in my inbox, and I'm just like, what are you doing here? I don't need you no more. What are you doing here? But anyway, so a month. So total, right, from application date to decision, when they made a decision, is 6 months. And from application date to when we got final everything that yes, you're a permanent resident, 8 months. So that was not bad. By the time we got the confirmation, it had been, so November, December, January, February, March, April. It had been 5 months for the express entry application, which we obviously had to cancel. And yeah, that was our journey. That was how we got from point A to point B in 2 years. Because the journey, like the official, like if I would have had to come to Canada, it would have still just been 2+ years. Yeah, it would have still been 2+ years. But look how that was not the plan. To come here in fragments, to have to make the difficult decision to say it is not best for us, for everybody to move all at once, to living those 16 months, because we were apart for 60. Those 16 months were brutal. Like I said, I thank all of y'all for staying with me through that, because your girl was under pressure. I was under some emotional pressure. But on to the next, on to the next leg of the journey that obviously takes time, but that's it. I do know that there's a lot of things that happened during my 2 years that makes my journey not the ideal situation. Like after, like when I was applying, it was still okay to take a 1-year program, and like obviously you can still take a 1-year program, you can still do you can't take a like risk, but at the same time, no, the risk is bigger, no, the risk is more challenging. I think we're in such shifting waters with everything that's happening. All the waters are kind of shifting so fast. You just really have to make sure that you plan and don't wait. Like if you can qualify for something and you've been thinking about it, act. Because IRCC, State Librarian, they are finally trying to rein in immigration for all the societal and economic pressures, and it's not gonna be as easy going forward, but make a plan. And if your plan is PR, go for the PR. Don't make a if there is the opportunity to make a shorter plan than a longer one for that, I will encourage you to take the shorter road. And also just do your research. I truly feel like, look how, like, in our minds, in my mind, for so many years, express entry was the route. Express entry was the route. Like, I considered nothing else. I was just like, and I, like, literally, it had to be that job in front of my face in Saskatchewan for me to say, I'm going to Saskatchewan. And I also think, people say things about Saskatchewan. Like, I feel like the rest of Canada has, like, Saskatchewan is like a backwater place and whatever. It's really not. It's really not. It's really not. I like it here. It's quiet. I don't know. It's more. It's what I imagined. I don't think I've ever envisioned my life in a big city. But this, I could do this. I could do this. I like this. This is quiet. I was talking to somebody, and they were like, so you like it here? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And they were surprised. And something flew out of my mouth that I didn't even realize. I said, I think the green, there's so much greenery here. And I think the greenery reminds me of home. That is one thing that I love about Jamaica. It's the beautiful, like the greenery, the water not there. But the greenery in Saskatchewan, it has a special place in my heart. The big sky, even though at home our view is kind of obscured by the mountains, but it's still like the mountains are still green. But here, it's so flat. There's nothing to obscure your view of the sky, and it's just big and all-consuming, and just, you can breathe. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, I promise I'm not telling y'all on Saskatchewan no more. But, so this was our journey, and obviously no, we're in it. And our journey to a PR has ended. And it sure had some twists and turns that we didn't expect. But just, if you are thinking about doing this, if you're thinking about going on this journey, I would say to you, prepare. Because your why needs to make sense. I know I've said this before, but your why needs to make sense. It is so expensive here that if you are running from money troubles in Jamaica and you come to Canada and you choose to go to big metropolitan areas like Toronto or Vancouver or even Montreal, and Calgary is starting to go up there too, you gonna find yourself in money troubles. You I'm saying you could still make your way, but if your why is money and you don't have no money, and that is where you're headed, you're gonna be in some problems, honey. You're gonna be unhappy. You gonna want to go home. And my why wasn't money. I was fortunate enough that the why did not have to be financial. And I do miss home. Like, I miss home so bad, but I'm okay. I'm okay. Things are expensive. It will never not shock me how expensive it is to live in Canada. If you're coming as a student, I know people judge things to qualify better, but be careful of the judging, because your mental health can be on the rocks. It is mind-blowingly expensive, okay? From tuition to food. It's just right now my plan for eat dirt. I like, you know what's chicken, you know, all that, but still stop eat you, because what is going on? Anyway, thank you for watching this video. Stay tuned if you want to see more, and I'll try my best to remain consistent at this point in time. So peace.